Good morning. It is Friday, the 8th of August 2025. The time, of course, is 10 past tomorrow. And in this video essay, I'm going to talk about AI agents, what they really are, and what they do. Because over the past 12 to 18 months, the idea of AI agents has gone from being a really fringe concept in the AI research world to the center of gravity for the entire AI industry. Everybody is working on them, everybody's talking about them. And over the past 6 months, I've been asked about them probably on average several times per week by people in the business community, not the AI community, but the business community who are trying to make sense of what they are and whether they matter. Let me assure you that they do, but the thing is, the term AI agent has been very thoroughly corrupted to the point that right now, most things that people refer to as agents, most things that you read about when people are talking about agents, are just dressed up traditional software automation with a dash of AI flavoring. So until now, I've actually resisted doing one of these essays about agents because the definition of what that term even means has become so messy and chaotic. However, I'm now getting asked about them so often that I think that chaos and messiness surrounding them is actually precisely the reason that I feel like I need to weigh in with my thoughts. Because AI agents are here, they're not perfect yet, but they are going to be the next big jump in AI. So as part of really strong AI literacy and understanding, I'd like everyone to know how to spot when a tool is truly agentic, what that actually enables, what that implies, and what that risks for us all. So let's start things off with that typical inbox story that people use to illustrate an example of an agent. It goes something like this. You arrive at work on Monday morning, you're under-caffeinated, you're already behind on your emails, but then to your delight, you see that someone or something has already cleared the decks for you. So an email agent has logged in, it's summarized your inbox, it's flagged the three most important and urgent things. It's drafted draft responses to those three things, which are sitting in your draft folder. And it's even booked a follow-up meeting with that person that you've been wanting to sit down with. And all of that happened while you were in the lunchroom with Brad talking about the Warriors over the weekend. The most important part about all that is that the agent didn't ask your permission once. And that is the new paradigm we're approaching in AI with that level of autonomy and agency. But I want to clear something up. An agent is not just automation. Traditional software automation works on if-then hierarchies, i.e., if this happens, then do that. If this happens, then do that. For example, if a contact browses our website it's a nice thumb, is already known in our CRM, then update that CRM contact. If the contact is not known, then create a new contact and update that. So that's not a true AI agent. That is just an automation, and maybe it has a little bit of AI duct taped into it. In that case, it may be, if they are unknown, then send an email to them based on their name and business name. So what's a true AI agent then? It's something that it just has to be given your goal or your end objective. And then it's intelligent enough to analyze that objective, reverse engineer it, break it down into a set of sub-steps and tasks that it thinks is the best path forward to achieve that goal for you. And then it can carry out those steps, can take action on them by itself, using tools like it can browse the internet, it can send and read emails, it can click on buttons, fill out forms, access membership sites by filling out passwords. It can make credit card payments to get behind paywalls. It can browse your file storage system like OneDrive or Google Drive. It can refine documents, create documents, send documents, and it can even write code to create solutions on the fly if it doesn't have access to a tool to do a step that it thinks it needs to do. And all of that happens without you needing to tell it how and without your direct oversight. And that is the level of autonomy that we're talking about of a true AI agent. The problem is that probably 95% of what you read about or see in your LinkedIn feeds when people are talking about AI agents are not that. And I trace the problem back to Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, who about 18 months ago started releasing a library of their traditional software automations, just with a little bit of AI infused into some of the steps and rebranding them as AI agents. That kind of started the flood, and other SaaS giants jumped on the bandwagon. HubSpot are now doing it, for example. Microsoft have jumped on the bandwagon. They have, if you're familiar with custom GPTs in ChatGPT, their version within Microsoft, they've just chosen to call them agents, even though they're written and designed by humans, step-by-step process. That started the landslide. Now all of the smaller SaaS companies, all of the indie builders that you see in your social feeds promoting their AI agents, 95% of them, probably 95%, are just traditional automations with a little sprinkling of AI, but they're still following those hard-coded if-then rules. So that summarizes, that's something I really want you to know, how to spot if something is a true agent. Also, another reason why I wanted to write this and produce this video essay is there's been a big change in the last 2 weeks in that the two biggest players in the game, OpenAI and Google, have both released AI agents. That means that we, as the masses, the general public, now all have access to an AI agent at the click of a button. Tens of millions of people are suddenly going to be able to use an AI agent as of today, and that means, in my opinion, we really collectively need to up our AI literacy and skills in this area quickly. So, as an overview, OpenAI has called their agent ChatGPT Agent. Great name. And Google has called theirs Opal. Now, currently, Opal isn't available to us in New Zealand. It's US only at the moment. Google tends to do that with their new products. So for the rest of this essay, I'll focus just on ChatGPT Agent, which, I repeat, is sitting there right now if you have a Plus, Pro, or Teams license, sitting there right there in your ChatGPT chat pane. So it can browse websites, takes actions, use tools, loop through logic without you babysitting it at all. Now, I have been using it. I must say the results are up and down. Incredible in some areas, underwhelming in others. But here are 3 real-world use cases that I've noted down just in the past week that I've seen to give you some examples of what people are using ChatGPT Agent for. So I saw a podcaster who used it to log into multiple software tools that he has. He said Buzzsprout, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, and he pulled all of the listener and retention data across all 3 of those pieces of software and hundreds of episodes in each of those 3 pieces of software. And then the agent compared year-over-year metrics across all that metadata, compiled it, and spit out a CSV summary, plus a PowerPoint deck that was actually pretty good. I saw a marketing consultant ask her ChatGPT agent to, and this is bordering on a little creepy, study her prospects, her audience on LinkedIn, analyze all of their activity and their interests, and then write personalized outreach emails and send those emails to those prospects based on their actual real-life interests on their LinkedIn pages. She said it saved her 4.5 hours per week, and it boosted her reply rates to those cold emails by 12%. And then I saw another example where a company used ChatGPT Agent to crawl competitor websites, track the pricing changes of those competitors, and then monitor their product launches, and then summarize and compile everything into a meeting-ready slide deck for the senior leadership team. So all of those examples, you can see they once required hours and hours of manual human labor, or a human bouncing between 10 different tabs and pieces of software. And now they can be delegated once, and then those people can continue on with their other work while their agent works for them in the background. You may have noticed I paused at one point in that explanation. There are at least some orange flags, probably some bright red flags actually, about security implications and responsible deployment of agents. So this applies to ChatGPT agents specifically, but also extends to all agents in general, because they don't just help you anymore. You're not there with oversight of what they're doing. Agents spin up their own virtual computer, their virtual browser. You can see it happening on screen. You can watch it, open websites, fill in forms, click on buttons, execute whole sequences of processes without your intervention. It's amazing, but it's a very new, imperfect technology. And so that means there are some risks, right? Very serious risks. So one of the things you can do with ChatGPT agents is you can use a feature called connectors, which means you can connect it to many, dozens already, soon to be hundreds of pieces of software. So you can right now connect it to your Google Drive or your HubSpot or your SharePoint. As I say, dozens of others of pieces of software. And then your ChatGPT agent could then pull data or files from any of those sources and, in theory, email them or hand over sensitive data to whatever websites it may be interacting with, if it feels that is a good course of action to achieve the end goal. Now, OpenAI knows this. In fact, they really explicitly warn us about it. When you activate that connector function that I talked about, you'll see a banner message pop up, big, clear, warning you of the implications, and that's because they know the risk. Also, if you watch the release video of ChatGPT Agent from OpenAI, Sam Altman, the CEO, said this in that launch. These were his words, verbatim. "I would explain this to my own family as cutting edge and experimental, a chance to try the future, but not something I'd use for high stakes uses or with a lot of personal information until we have a chance to study and improve it in the wild. We recommend giving agents the minimum access required to complete a task." So, are agents useful? Yes, they're getting there. Are they reliable and predictable? Not even close. So, I read that statement from Altman as being, yes, it can do these things. It can read your emails and act on them, for example. But I think even he is saying, don't do that yet. So if you're going to use this ChatGPT agent, and I hope you do experiment, here are the minimum precautions that I think you need to bake in to be safe, to be responsible. And if you're in a senior leadership position, it's absolutely essential that right now you speak with whoever writes your AI usage policy and make sure that these principles are being written into that policy immediately. Because, to remind you, it's now at the state that everyone who has a ChatGPT account now has the potential to use the agent with one click, and they could be using it in non-secure ways, probably even without realizing it. So here's my 3 pieces of advice. If you're unsure about using that connector function, connecting to other pieces of software, don't turn it on. And if your organization uses a Teams ChatGPT account, the admin of that account can actually do this at the group level so that no one within your ChatGPT Teams account can use the connector function. It probably goes without saying, but don't assume that others will remember this. Don't ever give passwords in your prompts, right? State that clearly, write it down in policies. Don't give passwords in prompts. When your agent needs to connect to websites that you have access to, if you decide to give it that access, it will actually pause and let you take over and type in your passwords, which it doesn't remember, but do not give it your passwords or your sign-in details in prompts. And then it's probably also common sense, but start with low-risk tasks. If you're going to use data, use dummy data. do projects that are low risk when you're starting out with Agent. Now, I promise you, I'm not fear-mongering here. It's just a new paradigm of what we can do with AI. We're only starting to explore what it means to give really powerful AI to give it independence and autonomy. So there'll be marvelous benefits to this. However, we need to be realistic that there'll also be tremendous risk too. We're in early days with agents. They are here, but keep your ears pricked up whenever you hear the term agent, and have some healthy skepticism about whether you are really looking at an agent, or is it just a dressed up traditional piece of software automation with a little bit of AI sprinkled on it. A few predictions. This technology, as you know, is moving faster than fast, so it wouldn't surprise me in the near future if in this agent space we see things like, in fact, I'm certain we will see multi-agent collaboration, where specialized agents can actually talk to each other and hand off tasks to complete highly complex tasks. I think we'll continue to see these pre-built agent libraries embedded within the software that you already use. However, they'll become true agents, not just traditional automation. And I actually think we'll see some regulatory action in this space around the transparency of agents, around them having to explain what they do to get to an end goal. There'll be some movement around liability, who's liable when you're using agents, and also like data protection and sovereignty. So all of that is in the future. As I say, if you're ready to experiment, please do wisely. Pilot your AI use wisely. Communicate what you're experiencing and the results and the challenges and concerns that you have with your teammates and with your senior leadership team. Learn the edges of where these early agents are. This is important before the next generation of AI agents hits, which will be exponentially more powerful and capable. Look, let me know if this essay was helpful to you, please, either in the comments section below or find me on LinkedIn. Because if it was useful and this is a topic that resonates with people, I'm considering doing a follow-up essay next week exploring. We are walking into the world of AI agents, and therefore, what are the human skills, the human traits, the human characteristics that I think are going to rise to the fore, become priority skills, and become super valuable once we start having reliable and powerful AI agency?